Good morning, friends. About 8 months ago, I made a video called Garden Design Changes I Want to Make in 2024. And seeing as how this garden season is coming to an end, I wanted to come back out here and just update you on how all those projects went, which ones we were able to accomplish, and just overall my thoughts on whether or not I would do those things again or whether or not I would use different plants. And I was inspired to make this video this morning because I see we have a big problem with one choice that I decided to make in early spring. And so I'll definitely be sure and give you some close-ups on that. The first thing I mentioned in that video was that I wanted to paint the garage black. And I think when I shot that video, I had painted half of the garage, but over by the hydrangea room was still white. And that has made such a huge difference in how the garden looks. I think that's really one of the best things that I've ever done for this garden. The next thing we talked about in that video was that I felt that the main flower walk didn't have enough flower power in it anymore. I had tried so hard to make this a 4-season cutting garden that I really had sacrificed a lot of flowers and replaced flowers with berry branches, colorful winter branches. But the thing is, what my heart really desires is for the main flower walk to be full of flowers for as long as possible. And I had discussed removing a lot of the berry shrubs. So I did get rid of the snowberries, but I have yet to take out the winter berries. And if you see all those downed oak branches there, I have 3 winter berries lining the back of the garage. 3 are female, and then there's a male right next to this Japanese cedar. And the strangest thing happened. In early spring, the first 2 girls got berries. I saw the development of berries, and then at some point they completely aborted every single berry, and I have no idea why that happened. So if you know, please let Grace and myself know, because we were very confused by that. But I definitely want to take those shrubs out and replace them with smooth hydrangeas, probably Invincible Spirit too over there. And then over here, where we have our Saving Grace Dahlia, I'll show you another change. I talked about changing out this area. This area is a constant succession of cut flowers, but being as that it's right at the entrance, that's not something that I want to deal with anymore. I have plenty of room in the back for these successions. So I want to move this yellow twig dogwood, which is going to be quite a challenge, I think. Stop doing cut flower successions right here and just come in with some beautiful smooth hydrangeas. Just a little less maintenance and also a little less mess right there at the entrance to my garden. Now the next change that I talked about making was getting the alfresco fountain from Henry's studio, and I absolutely love this fountain. I think the size is perfect, the sound is wonderful, I love the color, very easy to clean. I just use a leaf blower, blow out all the water, put in fresh water, and keep it clean by adding some hydrogen peroxide to the water. I also did limb up the Japanese cedar this year. That was a necessary change. And then if you look back at that winter video, right as we got to this area, I talked about wanting to get rid of all the plastic on the property. I had plastic pots and plastic Adirondack chairs, and I'm really thankful that we were able to do that this year. Switch them all out for wood chairs from Plow and Hearth. So we have a lot to talk about here by the garden library, the book nook, and let's start out with something that went wrong so we can end on a high note. In the video I talked about wanting to surround the deck with lady's mantle. I wasn't able to get my hands on lady's mantle, so I went with drops of Jupiter ornamental oregano, and you can see that here in my wet climate that was a very, very bad choice. And I really should have known better. When I was doing the voiceover for this video, I'm pretty sure I even mentioned that this might occur. So live and learn. Sometimes you have to see it firsthand to know never to do it again. So I'm not sure what I will do with these plants. I may give them away. I may put them in a raised bed to spill over and see if that solves the moisture issue, but this is certainly not the right place for them. I also seeded thyme into the cracks. I think overall that was a good idea. I did have to weed a lot of it out, but I kind of like where we're landing here with this amount. And this is just creeping thyme. We have a lot of mosquitoes out today, so you can see Grace is actually probably being bothered by some as we speak. Now in that video, the library was back farther and all the raised beds were in front of it, and a lot has changed in regards to that. Now, most of the raised beds have moved over here. I got rid of the 2 raised beds right in front of the library. And in that video, I was talking about creating a book nook behind the library. And this idea of a book nook is creating a garden that's a hidden room in plain sight. So here we are looking at a library, we're looking straight ahead, but we can't really see necessarily that there's this hidden garden room right in front of us. And so we're just getting started on this. We've got our first layer of gravel down. We have some of the plants in, but as you can see, there's still a lot more work to be done in this area. And the more I work on it, the more the right plan reveals itself to me. So let me talk you through one thing we're going to do a little bit differently than what I talked about in a previous video. So if you saw my drawing of what the book nook is going to look like, not too much is going to change from that drawing, but how I'm going to accomplish it is going to change. And that's really because I still want to leave some room for experimentation and a bit of a cottage look over in this area. So I'm going to keep these 4 raised beds, but they're just going to move together into an L shape. So this one will move over a little bit, this one will move forward, so they'll touch and create an L. Then in terms of the Hicks U, I'm going to put the Hicks U in front of the raised bed, and I'm going to put the smooth hydrangeas in the front of, sorry, it's so loud right now. Whoa. I think we better cut for the birds. They're still coming. Well, you don't see that every day. Okay, so let me try to pick up where I left off. So we're keeping the raised beds, we're moving them into L's. The Hicks U is going to go in front of the raised beds, concealing that there's a raised bed there, but I want to keep the height of the raised bed so I get a little more height off these smooth hydrangeas. The beds are 4 feet wide, so I'm going to position the smooth hydrangeas to spill slightly over the raised bed. Now what this is going to do is leave the interior of the raised bed for bulbs, and that's what I want to do on the interior of the beds. I want to have this 2 feet section running all around the book nook where we can really experiment with plants, annuals, bulbs, things that we're going to use for cutting. So we'll still kind of have that cottage feel. We'll have things that are new and exciting to look forward to over in the book nook, but we'll have the structure of the Hicks U. We'll have the structure and the repetition of the hydrangeas. And I think that's really going to be nice. It's also going to be a little bit less labor for me. I won't have to move these raised beds so far. So hopefully things will dry out a little bit and we'll be able to get around to that real soon. One thing we didn't get around to at all this year was putting in the hydrangea alley, and the only reason why I did not do that is because I put in the hydrangea order. It was a really big order, and then the company was not able to fulfill it. So I still plan to create that hydrangea alley. We'll just have to wait and be patient until we can get our hands on those larger panicle hydrangeas that I wanted to use. Now once we landed over here at the hydrangea room, I talked about wanting to paint this black, which I did, and I think that looks beautiful. I talked about wanting to add in a lot more hellebores, which we were able to do. And then the big surprise of this year was that we added in the terrain fountain. And some of you wanted a closer look at this fountain. It's surrounded with sublime hydrangeas, and I did put in one more sublime hydrangea about a week ago from Proven Winners because that is such a fabulous smooth hydrangea. So I'm very excited about next February and March because we put in all of those hellebores, but I think maybe one or two of them had blooms on them, but we really did not get to see the hydrangea room jam-packed full of hellebores. And I'll probably still add maybe 2 or 3 every year because, you know, hellebores are quite expensive. But my idea for the hydrangea room is that it's carpeted with hellebores and then it just takes care of itself for the entire remainder of the growing season. So let's head over to the driveway garden where things I feel went pretty good over there, but still a long way to go in terms of getting better privacy in that garden. There used to be a winding path running through this garden, and I had shared how that was somewhat problematic in terms of people walking through the garden, and that I only wanted them to move forward and not around. And so what I ended up doing was this horseshoe garden. It might be easier to see it from above. I think in the winter I had talked about just putting some stepping stones in here, but I am so glad that I went with gravel instead, and these bricks that I actually stole from the front yard, and I'll make sure I give you an update there too, because the instant hedge, the boxwood instant hedge, looks amazing. Well, friends, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the changes that we made this year. If you liked or didn't like something, I am open to any and all opinions, and I look forward to hearing some new ideas from you of what you'd like to see from North Lawn in the coming year. I am going to address what happened to the Insta-Hedge soon. It's doing okay, it's just not doing great, and some of it will need replaced, and that's all because of the construction of the library, because when all the trucks came in, and they had to come in 4 times, we actually had to remove it in the middle of winter. So 4 times, a huge amount of it came out of the ground and then back in the dead of winter. So it looks okay, but not great. But I'll give you an update on that and what I plan to do to fix it in an upcoming video. I want to wish you a wonderful day out there in your gardens, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye, friends.